Hi, and welcome back to M Top's videos. Today, we're going to be talking about why you should vote no on Mayor Eric Adams' city charter amendments that are happening, um, that will be on the ballot, on the back of the ballot in November, um, early voting October the 25th. So, understanding why to vote no. Before we begin to talk about the changes, I just want to do a quick review of exactly how people go about asking for changes in zoning, because this is all about building and how people build things. So, there are two types of building that happen. One is called an as of right, and that means is that you're not looking for any changes to the laws. You're going to build what's currently there. It's going to kind of blend in with the existing structures and the heights and the widths of what exactly is happening, and that's called as of right. It takes less than a couple of weeks just to get a building permit, and boom, you start building. The other one, however, is what we call a rezoning, and this one allows a developer to build what's not currently allowed. You could build, 3 or 4 times as high. So if it's a 4-story, community, they could be asking for 20 stories. And why do they do that? For money, you know. When, for example, there is a developer in my neighborhood, and he was a former drug trafficking criminal who was pardoned by Donald Trump. And he decided to get into the business of real estate in New York City. And he bought a piece of property, he got a rezoning, and he made $27 million off of the rezoning. So if you're going that route, if you're doing a request for rezoning, there are two phases to that process. One is the pre-certification phase, and this is before the Department of City Planning certifies the application. So when you put it in, they have to review it. And then there's the post-certification, and that's only 7 months. So the first one is 2 to 5 years. The second one is 7 months. So exactly why is the ballot questioning focusing on the 7 month, which is the shortest period of this rezoning, and not the 2 to 5 years? Well, you'll find out. So you stay tuned, stay with us. So, so what happens during that pre-certification time? That's an important time. It's 2 to 5 years. Well, in that time is basically when all the deals are done about the development project. There are two power brokers. We call them power brokers. One is the city council, and the other one is the mayor. So normally developers will put the application in, reach out to the mayor, reach out to the local city council person to see if they can negotiate terms that both of these two power brokers can live with. There's always some wiggle room. So what they ask for, there is some negotiation where, they might be asking for 25 stories, but they're willing to go down 15, so that it appears as if, they're accommodating. So there's some wiggle room that happens. But let's look at the mayor first, the first power broker. Now, the first power broker is the mayor. However, the problem with the mayor making decisions for local communities is that the mayor really doesn't know the communities. Yes, we vote for them. Yes, they might have shown up at a campaign, but they don't really know what entails in that community. What are the issues, what people want. And the developers, unfortunately, are much closer to the mayor in that regards. They're the ones who give large donations to their campaign, both lawfully and unlawfully. And so they have more of a reach to the mayor than a small local community will have. Now we're going to go to the city council, which is the other power broker. Now, there tends to be 3 types of city council people. You might have one that says, no, I don't want any development. It's not happening here. I'm not disturbing what's happening with my community. I want to keep my community safe, and I'm not going to do anything. So don't even bother coming to speak to me. The second one would be the ones that are willing to have development, but want to negotiate some terms. So they might say, okay, you can come in, but that affordable has to be affordable to my community. For example, Charles Barron in his neighborhood, You know, he said, I don't want to hear about the AMIs and the percentage. I just want to see the dollar sign. So he was looking at like a studio for 750. And he said, no, I don't want towers. I want 6 stories. And they gave him 6 stories. And he really has one of the best records of getting the most from developers than any other city council person. So those are the types of negotiation you can have. And then you have a third type of city council person. Well, really doesn't really care too much about their neighborhood. They're more concerned about their own personal goals and objectives, because the real estate will help city council people. You know, they will help them with their political careers. They will help them with getting a job afterwards. They might help them get a nonprofit, et cetera, et cetera. And for example, Crystal Hudson is our local city council person. The real estate has been so pleased with her that they want to push her to be the head of the city council. And so they're supporting her for Speaker of the House. Now, after all the deals are done, then the Department of City Planning certifies the application. Now, the City of Planning doesn't certify every application. Only 60% of the applications are actually certified. And that's because for whatever reason, those 40% did not make the cut. Either, they couldn't get the city council person to agree, or they couldn't get the mayor to agree, or they were just asking for stuff that just, was pie in the sky and it was not going to happen. But we never see those backroom deals. We never see behind that. But once an application is certified by the Department of City Planning, it has a 99.9% chance of passing. So, wow. You get certified, very, just a very small percent that you won't get it approved. And so this then it becomes the public review. This is when the public finds out about it. And so, there's 60 days for the community board, 30 days for the borough president, which is only advisory, so they don't have any really strong weigh-in. Then the City Planning Commission weighs in. And now remember, the City Planning Commission is controlled by the mayor, right? So the Department of City Planning is controlled by the mayor. The City Planning Commission is controlled by the mayor. And then you have the City Council. And it's really the vote in the City Council that matters, because they have the final vote. So some people were concerned about that. Wow, well, that seems to be like all this power is in the City Council, but the City Council has and continues to have a lot of development happening, because there's a lot of pressure for City Council people to vote yes to these projects. And Christian Richardson Jordan, who's the former city council person in Harlem, experienced that. There was so much pressure put on her, even though she was fighting very hard for her community and wanted this developer to give, true affordable housing, that is affordable to the residents. There was so much pressure put on her that she just decided not to, come back and be a city council person. And eventually that development did get passed by the new city council person, who was supported by the real estate industry. So now we're back. Now that you understand how that works, right? The 2 to 3 years for pre-certification, the 7 months for after certification. Now we need to look at the city charter and see, what are they trying to do? So what they're focusing on is the 7th month, not the 2 to 5 years, but the 7 months. And they're doing it in ways to remove the power of the city council, so that you don't have the checks and balances with the mayor. And there's only one power broker. The first question was called question number 2. It's called the fast track housing for affordable housing, And there's 2 parts to it. So let's be clear, there are 2 parts to question number 2. Now, the first part is any development project that is proposing to have any amount of affordable housing. So it could say, oh, I'm going to give 10 apartments for affordable housing. Can I go up 10 more stories? So there you are, a 4-story, block, and you want to go up, 15 stories and give 10. There's no amount, they can do that. They can say that they're going to do this affordable housing. They can give this small amount, and then they do this fast track. It's called a fast track. So instead of doing the 7 months after it's certified, What it is the Department of City Planning certifies the application, and it goes directly to the Board of Standards and Appeals. Now, a lot of you might not have ever heard of Board of Standards and Appeals. Well, that's because it's a kind of funny quasi kind of entity. It's made up of all the mayor's appointees. So their mayor appoints all nine of these board of this member of the Board of Standards and Appeals. So there's 9 of them, all appointed by the mayor, and they have the final say. That's it. Get certified, goes to the Board of Standards and Appeals. The Board of Standards and Appeals, controlled by the mayor. Boom. Now, what's dangerous about this is that it doesn't have to just be a small little plot. It could be a district-wide rezoning. That means you could talk about an entire community can be rezoned in this process. If anybody is following the Chelsea public housing, that's 8 buildings spanning over 24 blocks, 13 acres, right? That whole entire process, if this law was in effect, would now go straight from the Department of City Planning straight to the Board of Standards and Appeals, and that will be the end of that. And the Board of Standards and Appeals would approve it because they are controlled by the mayor. The mayor controls the Department of City Planning that certified it, and the mayor controls this 9 board member. And I think there's only 1 hearing that they do on it, and then that's the end of it. So that's one thing. The other part to this is the 12 lowest housing districts. So they're going to decide which community boards have not done their fair share. Let's put them on a list. And what we're going to do is instead of them going through the 7-month review process, the few that did not go to the Board of Standards and Appeals somehow might still go through ULUP. I don't know what those types of projects would look like, because most of the time the ULUP process is for affordable housing, most of the time. So any project that is being developed, it doesn't have to be for affordable housing. It could be for non-housing developments. They will go through this fast track. So they will still be reviewed by the community board and the borough president, which is only advisory, but that would be merged into just 2 months for the review. So the borough president and the community board will be reviewing it at the same time. And then it will go to the City Planning Commission for a vote. That's it. So who's the power broker there? Again, the mayor, because the mayor controls the City Planning Commission. So I kept saying it's one person, right? Here's the mayor. On one side is the Department of City Planning that certifies the application. So that's controlled by the mayor. And then it goes to the City Planning Commission, and that's controlled by the mayor. And so who controls this outcome? The mayor. No city council, nowhere. And what are some of the examples? One of the things that they also are saying, oh, well, you know, the development has to somehow provide some kind of benefits from the community. So it doesn't have to be a real estate development. It could be another type of development, but it has to provide some kind of community benefit. And what we know is that New York City has the worst record of adhering to their community benefits. Even New York City, even New York. The developers and the city have horrible records. So we know that while they make promises of community benefits, we know that they tend not to adhere to them. And you could be on this list for 5 years. So your community could be on this list for 5 years, and they could build whatever they want, wherever they want, depending upon the whim of the mayor. And so it's a dangerous precedent. And in that example, They will be there for 5 years, and then they will have a new round, get another 12 new districts. So eventually your district might one day be on that list. And for 5 years, they be building this, building that. So your community will not look the same ever again. So these are really important. This question number 2 is very important. You definitely have to say no. We're going to be doing another video on 3 and 4. So come back and stay. And then I just want to tell you a little bit about us. We're MTOP, the Movement to Protect the People. We are the first community to stop a district-wide rezoning. We also were able to stop the almost a 50-story building going up against the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens. We have filed lawsuits. We filed our recent lawsuit we just won against Borough President Reynoso. And we just filed a new lawsuit against the Empire Boulevard rezoning that is a toxic site that was done through a spot rezoning. So we've been here since almost a dozen years now. And what can you do? Because it's important that you do something. So vote no, vote no. Tell others to watch this video. Tell others to vote no. Early voting starts October the 25th. So you need to get out there and start talking to your neighbors and start talking to them. Stay connected, get on our email list, and make a donation to us. We really do appreciate and need your support. We are not given any money. Nobody gives us money. And so we really, I mean, from like politicians and developers and special interests, we don't get that. We get money from people like you. And so please, if you can give us a donation and help us with our legal fights, it would really be appreciated. And I'll see you at the next video. Bye.